Now, I know that y'all never make mistakes when you're playing, but unlike y'all, I make mistakes all the time. Either, I'll be playing and I either hit a wrong note or I forget where I am. My brain sort of leaves me for a moment. And I end up making a mistake and it sounds terrible, but there are ways that you can kind of recover from these mistakes or maybe even make it sound like you meant to do it. So let's dive in and look at them. Now, as with anything on guitar, chords, patterns, scales, you're going to have to practice these ideas in order to make them sound good on the fly. And the most important thing that you need when you're going to recover from a mistake or getting lost on the guitar is that you're going to need to have a home base. In other words, a spot on the guitar that you can go to, that you know forwards and backwards, you can play in your sleep or with your eyes closed. And for me, that happens to be the minor pentatonic scale. Now, for you, it might be a major or a minor. It doesn't really matter, but you need to have that home base, that spot that you can go back to. So if we're in the key of A, my home base is going to be this regular minor pentatonic pattern. I know that no matter where I am, if I can make my way back to this home base, I can recover and I can make it sound good. Now, the most obvious way to, get back to your home base is that you just jump back there from wherever you are. So if I'm playing somewhere, all of a sudden, I hit a wrong note, I can just jump back to my home base, jump back to my minor pentatonic scale. But there is a couple of problems with this. One is it's going to take you a second to realize I made a mistake. Then it's going to take you another second to figure out where your home base is and to get back there. So it's going to sound awkward to the audience because you just hit kind of a weird sour note and then all of a sudden there's a pause. So it sounds like a mistake, and obviously it was, but what we're trying to do is make it not sound like a mistake. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest just jumping back to your home base, but it is an option, if you can't remember how to do any of the other ones. The other thing that's going to sound a little funny if you're just jumping back to your home base is that not a lot of people, and for good reason, not a lot of people, just sort of jump back and forth on the guitar like that. It just sounds a bit awkward. So a better way to do this would be to say use chromatics. And one thing I want you to understand about music in general or guitar is that there's not necessarily a right or a wrong note. As a matter of fact, a lot of guitarists use what they call chromatics, or one note at a time or one fret at a time, either walking up or walking down. And they use this on purpose, and it kind of gives an interesting sound. For example, let me play something like this. Now, I just played every note that's even possible to play, but because of the context, the rhythm, the way in which I played it, you can't really point out the right note or the wrong note. And we can use this idea of chromatics, walking one fret at a time, we can use this idea to recover from a mistake. So wherever your home base is, whether it's walking, sort of down the guitar, up the guitar, however you want to think about that, no matter where your home base is, you can use this chromatic idea. So just like before I was playing up here, I hit that wrong note, I can just walk chromatically back down to my home base, and that's going to make it, it's still going to sound a little bit awkward, but you're still continuing to play, and then you're ending well. And this is an old cliche, but if you start well and you end well, people don't remember as much what happens in the middle. So again, that's why I say work back to the home base. And you can use this chromatic idea to make your way back to your home base. Or if you're down here, you hit some notes you don't like, you can use chromatics to walk up to wherever your home base is. The one thing that happens when we're practicing, say, chromatics, we often get stuck in this idea of just, practicing these scales and these patterns, and we don't really branch out a whole lot, out of the box, so to speak. But practicing these chromatics, you're going to play every single note that there is to play. So one of the things that's going to happen as you practice this is you're going to run across notes that you're not used to playing that actually sound good. You're going to like them, and you're going to come up, you're going to stumble across licks that you actually like just playing, chromatic notes up and down, just kind of running the scale. But this is also going to help you recover from these mistakes, if you can work your way back to home base. Now, another technique that people use all the time to recover from mistakes, and actually people use this just for licks in general, is to pull off to open strings. So people like Brad Paisley will pull off to open strings on purpose, and it gives that kind of real unique sound, even though these open strings aren't necessarily part of the scale that he's playing in. And a lot of guitarists use this. Now, again, I'm comfortable in this minor pentatonic scale, so I'm going to show you the idea of pulling off to open strings. And this is something you should practice, in every pattern that you do, is pulling off to open strings. So I'm just going to play this pattern. So I'm going to go 8-5 on the E string, but after I play this fifth one, I'm just going to pull off to this open E string. I'm going to do the same thing on the B string, same thing on the G, and the D, and then I can end. And you can actually use this idea of pulling off to open strings as licks in themselves. And they can sound really interesting because, like I said, these notes aren't part of the scale necessarily, but if you pull off to open strings, do it in the right context, then they can sound really interesting. Now, we can use this pulling off to open strings idea along with the chromatic idea, just sort of randomly walking frets down. We can kind of mix those two together to recover from mistakes. So let's say I was up here playing and I hit a wrong note. Now I've hit a note that I don't like. I can actually pull off, to open strings, just kind of walk some frets down until I get back to my home base where I know I can end well. Now, it does sound a little bit awkward to just randomly pull off to open strings and walk chromatically like that, but if you do it in the right way, you can kind of trick the audience into thinking that you meant to do that even though you didn't. It's a great way to recover and kind of throw some different notes into a solo that's kind of unusual, which can sound good, again, in the right context. So something that you need to practice. The other thing that's going to happen as you put on a backing track and you just kind of randomly pick a note and just start pulling off to these open strings is that you're going to end up running across some gems, running across some licks that are kind of unusual but that you like the sound of, and you'll end up incorporating them into your playing. So this is a great idea to recover from mistakes, or if you get lost on the guitar, just kind of randomly play frets and pull off to open strings until you get back where you want to be. Now, one thing to remember on guitar is that you're never but a fret or maybe two away from a note that's going to sound good. So like if I was in A, I'm just kind of drum this A note. If I just kind of pick a random string, well, that doesn't sound very good, but if I slide up one fret, that note actually sounds really good, or that note doesn't sound bad, that note sounds really good. So you're really never but a fret or two away from a note that's going to sound good. So one way to recover is to just slide, up a fret or back a fret, and sometimes that can save you. And by doing this, it'll make it kind of sound like you meant to do that. Also, if you can slide into that note, you can bend into that note as well. So just doing a simple slide up, a simple slide back, or a bend up, sometimes you can recover from that wrong note that you hit. Now, just like we practice hitting the right notes on guitar, you need to practice hitting these wrong notes and trying to recover from them. So throw on a backing track, try some of these techniques out. It is something that you're going to have to practice, but whenever you make a mistake, whenever you get lost, there are ways to recover from them and make it sound to the audience like you meant to do that, or like you didn't make a mistake. So I really do hope this helps, and as always, if you need something, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you.